All right, we are live.
Yes.
Yes. Welcome everyone. Um, welcome Dima. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. I was missing from the last time we've done the live release, and it's good to be back.
Yeah. It's definitely something that we were going to do. We will really aim to do it once, like bi-weekly, every 2 weeks, on the clock, and I believe that we all could benefit from it. Anyway, let's start with anyone who's joining us. Just please send something in the chat, and what is your time, kind of in your time zone. Um, let's Dima, you start first because we're in the same time zone. I'm a bit lazy.
Yeah. So for me, it's like 3 o'clock.
3 o'clock.
Yeah,
Okay,
good,
good.
good in the middle of the day kind of thing. And by the way, happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, happy Valentine. Yeah, we already have David here. Hey, David. Happy Valentine's to you as well. Okay, so let's dive right into what we came here for, and um, let's start by we had this release recent. This is the 0.11. How many contributors, how many people from the community actually participated in that release, Dima?
So in that release, we had around 20 contributors really taking part of the 0.11 release. And we also had, out of those people, so basically we have some of the core members out there, but I think around maybe 13 people were actually from kind of not part of the core team and contributed to this release. And I think we also had 5 new contributors as part of it. So like people who haven't contributed to Novu
Ooh,
before and they made their first contribution as part of this version. So um,
that is
that's
so
really cool.
cool. I will make sure to highlight them on our socials a bit later. But that is so awesome. Um, and we also noticed that over the past month, we had, I think, 50% of the people that open issues and kind of participated in any way through our GitHub. Um, 50% are totally new people, newcomers, people that basically just discovered us and decided to at least even start by open an issue and participating in that way, which is frankly really awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think it also connects to the polishing season we are doing right now, which a lot of people kind of took and participated in. And like we've got so much amazing feedback, and we're actually speaking right now with the team to maybe we will probably do a polishing season V2 to actually, because there was so much incredible feedback. We kind of, hey, let's try to see if people actually care about those things, and we had a lot of amazing suggestions and ideas. We won't be able to cover everything as part of this release, but definitely it's something we will do in a couple months from now again, and maybe we'll do even a bigger event out of it now that we've seen that there's so much interest in those things. So I think I'm really excited about this,
sounds
and also
cool.
the team
Sounds cool.
had a lot of fun working on it as well.
So I guess we will have time to dive a bit deeper and kind of to actually showcase in this session. And of course, the session is recorded, so people who could not participate and come right now could also enjoy it a bit later once
Let me
the
fix my hair just to make
yeah.
sure now it's recorded. I'm nervous and all.
Yeah, so by the way, if you want to revisit any of the recent releases and all the events that we are having on YouTube, you can do it as well on our YouTube channel and just go to the live sessions. And you could see uh, all the lives that we had along with the questions and the comments there and the kind of everything. So don't worry if you could not join right now. We hope you could participate next time. And one more thing is if you would like to participate in any way, and you could not even like to come physically and join to the Q&A, you could also submit your question or request so we could address that in the live session. And after, you could just rewatch it and to see if your question was answered. Um, all right, so with that being said, let's dive right into the features that were released on the 0.11. Um, Dima, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Fantastic. So, as kind of a reminder that we use the GitHub releases for tracking our releases out there, including the change log and all the things happening. So, if you for some reason want to kind of find it by yourself and then have a look at it, you can see that the release is available under the 0.11 tag on the releases page on GitHub. And the funny thing is that we already, this release was like 1 week ago, and we already have almost 453 commits to the next branch since the release. So there is already a primer for the next release upcoming, and there's been like crazy amount of work done as part of the polishing season we are working on right now. So really, really exciting. I will try to get on the bigger part of this release, but this release includes like other than the ones I will be mentioning, there is like crazy amount of work and improvements and fixes and like really a lot of things that kind of was part of it. We like I can't go in detail about every one of those, but then you can go and kind of read it by yourself, which I think is always a good idea. But let's kind of maybe go on the higher level and some of the more bigger and more notable changes out of this release. So the very first one is something that is a long requested feature specifically for people who are using email channel at Novu. And I'm speaking about the email layouts. So previously, if you had an email you were sending to your users and you were sharing a particular kind of layout for this email, for example, a background, some styling, like an image behind and etc., some structure part of the email basically, you would have to go and copy paste this layout for all of the templates, email templates you had, which is, as we know, not such a good experience. And we are really excited to share that we have released the layouts functionality over Novu as part of the 0.11. So basically, you can manage the layouts in a single place. And then assign them to particular templates. So you can create multiple layouts, and then you can have different templates using other types of layouts defined. So once a user registers to Novu, basically we done a bit of kind of removing things apart, and we created a new page called brand, which contains some of the assets, including the brand logo and the widget customization, such as the font family for the iframe embed. Previously, you could find it under the settings page, but this has been moved to the brand to kind of have a better location for all of those things. And then on this tab here, you could actually see that we have a new tab, and it's called the layouts. There is a layout that was created by Novu, basically. So when a new user registers, we create a new layout for them. For old users, we have not polyfilled the layout backwards because we don't want to mess up with your existing template. So this is kind of an opt-in functionality for you. But for new users, we kind of pre-submit this layout to kind of help starting using this functionality, so you don't have to kind of start from zero. And in the future, we hope that we will be able to provide a few layouts and designs for you to pick from, so you don't have to kind of go and do that from scratch. So when looking at a particular layout, so we can see a similar kind of experience for the custom email editor, where we have the actual layout name, we have the layout description. This is used internally, so you can easily kind of help and manage this for your team. Then we have the actual HTML content of the layout. So basically, what's happening here is that This is the predefined template we have created, and we can soon take a look at it. And the important thing about the layouts is to actually have the body tag uh, part of the layout. So the body tag is basically where Novu will actually inject the individual workflow content inside your email. So you can have this whole elaborate setup with styling and things like this on your actual layout. You can have a footer, you can have a header with a logo, with whatever you want there. And then basically, wherever you want the actual content to live in, you will just place the body tag with the three handlebar syntax, so we can actually compile the HTML and inject it as well, because by default, handlebars actually escapes for security reasons all content without the triple thing is here. You can also use variables injected at runtime. So here we can see the system variables and some of the step-related variables that you could use as part of it. And you can add new variables. You can manage them with the all familiar kind of variable management pane. We'll go a bit later on this one once we are in the actual template section. We can set up this template as default, and this one is the actual default template right now. So basically what will happen is that if you have multiple templates, you can specify the default template. So when you're creating new notification workflows, this template is selected, so you don't have to manually go and do that. And you can have only one default template. So if you will be selecting it, basically the other ones will be unchecked for you. So once a layout is defined, either you've created a new layout or you have actually modified the existing layout for this particular email, basically now you can go and use it. So the node that's using this particular template is actually the email node. So I can click on an email node and go to edit template. And what we can see is we have a new input here called email layout, and we can see that the default layout is selected for me, and it's actually already been used. And the way I can see how it looks like, if I go to the preview tab, I can actually see this email is empty. And I can see that we have some styling applied to it. We have the actual, this box applied to it. This is the very similar layout that was used previously, that was embedded in the visual editor, but people using custom code couldn't actually get access to it. So now, basically, when we moved this layout functionality to a different place, you can either use the custom code functionality or the visual email editor to have it all defined here. So if I will go back and let's go to the custom code, and I will say hello from the email, and I will go to the previous section, I can see that this is where the actual body of the email was generated. And if you remember the 3 calorie braces body section, this will indicate for Novu where should we actually put the content inside of the layout. So this preview here is basically a compilation of both the top level layout and the actual workflow specific content, which is really, really handy when you want to reuse the same email styling for all of your notifications, so you don't have to kind of manually going and copy pasting them. So this is very in short about the layouts. If you have any questions, would love to hear them. If not, we can also get back to it later if somebody will kind of remember something that he wanted to ask. And as
Um,
always,
One
yeah.
thing, we going. I mean, it should be planned to also add the preview to the actually layout creation, right?
Yeah, so basically you could actually preview only the layout part there and then kind of iterate. It's something that we'll probably do in one of the next releases, but it's definitely something on the plan. As always, we try to release quite fast to make sure that people have the ability to interact with the functionality, to maybe identify some things. Some things we already know that we want to implement, for example, the previous one that you mentioned. But
Yeah.
sometimes those decisions can be affected because people might say, hey, you know what, it's maybe less important for us, but this is crucial for us. So it's kind of a way we try to
Right.
always hear the feedback, and instead of holding something for a very long period of time and then putting something potentially nobody needs, is kind of doing this iterative approach of listening, getting the feedback, iterating, and kind of coming
Absolutely.
back to it. And the layouts is definitely a very similar approach there. So yeah, having a previous is definitely kind of on the backlog, and hopefully we'll get to it soon.
Hmm. Good.
Fantastic. So this is the email layouts. Feel free to roll your questions, and we can get back to them later. Next one, and this one is really exciting one for me at least, is online filters. So previously, if you would go to our website, our amazing design team created a beautiful flow here that if this user is online, do some stuff, and then if the user is not online, do some other stuff. Um, this is previously was not basically achievable because it's something that kind of required a lot of background work for us to be able to actually compile this functionality. And part of the 0.11 release, we actually put it through. And I'm really excited about this because it creates a lot of flexibility and it affects the way the users are getting notifications. For example, you might not want to send an email if the user is already inside your application and he's already interacting with it, so he can already see it as part of him using kind of the web app. So we might not need to send an email after that. And this is again to removing those points where you're like, oh, I've just seen something, I already dealt with it, and then I'm getting a push, I'm getting an email, I'm getting like a Slack message, like all over the place saying the exact
It's
same things.
basically the reason why you hate notifications.
Yeah. Exactly. And this is really the first step of creating those small improvements to the end user and subscriber experience to make notifications actually much more beneficial. So we've seen with company like Slack, and Slack is in my opinion obviously a lot of room for improvement, but Slack I think done, and there is like the famous Slack notification chart diagram, and they're doing a lot of those kind of assumptions. For example, if the user is currently online or he's inside the web client, we don't need to send a push on his mobile. And if he is installed the mobile app, then basically maybe we want to stop sending emails because now we can send push messages. So there's a lot of things to kind of under behind the scenes of the notification system. And what we're trying and hoping to achieve is that piece by piece, building those kind of levers so we can, in the first hand, to achieve this behavior. So we have all those features, the is online functionality, the is read, is seen, kind of is installed push or whatever. And then after we have all of those primitives available in the workflow, we can we can actually combine them behind the scenes for the user, hopefully, so you don't have to mastermind everything by yourself. We can provide a lot of good best practices, suggestions of things we suggest from seeing thousands of companies kind of across different types of industry ways, and kind of connect all the primitives one to the other in a very simple way. And right now we are in the primitive building kind of phase where we're building the is online functionality, the digest, the email, the layouts, kind of all of those things piece by piece. And a lot of those is driven by the requests we're getting. So I'm really excited for this one. So let's see how it works. So basically, I can put on any node we are having here. Basically, we can create an in-app here, and I can add a filter. When adding a filter, I can actually specify. So let's do it quicker, slower. So I can go click on a particular node. I can click on the add filter button. And then on the filter types, we already have a few filters available for us. So one of them would be the payload, subscriber. We have a webhook filter, which basically says that we can make a request to your own custom service, and you can actually say to us, should we send this or not? This was released as part of the previous cycle, and I think is a really great functionality to create kind of more customized experiences, even if Novu does not support all the edges of things possible to achieve. Um, and then there is the two new filters. So one of them is online right now. basically we will only deliver this notification if the user is currently have an active socket session open with the Novo Notification Center experience. The other one, if the user was online in the last amount of minutes, second, days, or whatever. So you can basically kind of create different approaches. The more kind of straightforward one would be the online right now filter, but you could actually like imagine different use cases where you could say, oh, you know what, we should only send this email if the user was not online in our app for the last 2 days, for example, or create a bit more complex scenarios out there. So this filter can be applied to literally any node. So we can do it on in-app, on digest, on delay, on whatever you want.
I
Yeah.
have one quick question
Yeah.
regarding the logic of those filters. Does it have also and or logic? Can you
Yeah.
go
So
into details?
basically you can specify either like the relationship between those rule sets. So I can
Mm-hmm.
say either the user is online right now or he was online in the last 5 days, for example,
Yeah.
kind of scenario. Um, Later down the road, hopefully, we will also be able to do some nesting of rules. So you could actually specify a bit a nested kind of functionality. And we already had some requests of can we actually make it even as part of the trigger so we can outline filters and those
Right.
rules dynamically when we are triggering notifications so we can do some overrides and customizations, or we can create the base filters from here and then override them during the trigger request. So a lot of interesting ideas about the filters and would love to hear kind of the feedback coming in from the community to see how and kind of where it will be more useful for them to use this
Mm-hmm.
one. And hopefully we'll be able to introduce new filter types here as well. So is online, it might be soon is seen, is read, is open the email, like kind of it was the email bounce, kind of can we create all of those rules and assertions and basically react on them after that. So this is the is online filter. Go play with it. There is kind of the section under the docs available also with a bit more information. You can click out of the release page and read more about it there. um, Another one that is very interesting, and it's reply callbacks with inbound email parsing. And this is a very big word and a lot of words to basically I will try to illustrate it with something probably some of you have experienced with. And this is very common, for example, in places like GitHub, where you might have seen this functionality, where basically you get a notification over email about something. For example, somebody mentioned you in an issue, right? And GitHub provides this cool functionality, which basically you can reply to this email to say, hey, cool, I've seen it, whatever, like, and actually reply to the email itself. And then your reply will be seen on the actual GitHub issue page inside the GitHub thing. Behind the scenes, how it works, basically, you would need to set up an email address, right, that can identify this particular transaction in a unique way. For example, I know that the user replying to this email was associated with this particular trigger of the notification, that this email is associated to the GitHub issue, it's associated to the different information. So basically what we're doing in Novu is setting up an actual MX, a mail server, basically for incoming emails, and we manage it for you. The only thing that is kind of required by on the setup side of things is actually go to the email settings and configure an MX record. And basically, this MX record will point, for example, you can do an inbox, something called like uh, inbound at apple.com, for example. It's kind of your custom domain. What this MX record basically does is it will basically redirect all the incoming traffic back to the Novu server. Novu can then parse this email. It can actually extract to understand who is the recipient, when he actually got the email, what this email is associated to which notification using the transaction ID. And then with all of those information combined, we can actually make a webhook call back to your server to say, hey, the user, this particular subscriber ID has replied to this particular email. Here is all of the information that was associated to it. the transaction ID of it, the payload you specified once you trigger the notification, and then you can do whatever business logic you want with it. You can see it with support use cases. For example, um, with intercom, if you're asking somebody something on intercom and then somebody replies to you like after a few hours, you're getting an email about, hey, we've checked this, like what do you think? You could actually reply back to this email, and the agent on the other side will actually see it inside the intercom client. So this is a very similar experience, but from a bit different use case. And looking forward a bit, this is how can we make notifications interactive in a sense. So one of the very kind of straightforward things is the inbound parse functionality, for example. The other ones would be using amp emails. If you've seen maybe emails from Google Sheets or Google Docs, that like there is actually interactive components inside of it, and it's again something we kind of, for us, it's really core to implement inside Novu, because this is all we do, kind of making it, this experience, much better. So the inbound parse opens the way for a lot of new functionality and kind of ways to interact with the system. And the way you do it, so basically after configuring the initial MX, and there is a documentation page available for it as well. You can find it in the release notes. Um, and if not, I'll make sure to link it as well, but there is a doc page available for it. And then for a notification, we want to enable reply to callbacks. So you could actually see that we have the enable reply callbacks available on the email step. And basically, there is a reply callback URL, which you can put your own webhook endpoint. You can have it your own server or a third-party service that accepts webhooks on your behalf. But this is basically to tell where Novu should send, once the user actually replied to an email, where can we send this information about this event happened to your system, so you can do your custom logic with it, create a comment, forward it to somewhere, and etc. So this is the reply callbacks functionality, which I think is really interesting. And again, connected to what I said earlier, once we have this, we can also connect it to the actual filters and then say, if the user has replied to this email, let's do something else. So it's kind of, again, we are really focused around building those primitives right now. And once we kind of have the different dots, we can begin connecting them in a very interesting ways. And I'm really excited about where this is heading, and what we
Sounds
can
really
achieve.
crazy, the configuration that you may do in a really short amount of kind of in the near future.
Yeah, and I think what we provide to for people specifically with the reply callbacks functionality is that previously, to set this up, and I've had to implement this in few of our previous companies and speaking with friends. So like we've done really interesting things with like doing some hacks with Gmail, and because you need to set up this incoming mail server, you need to parse the email, you need to set up all of those things. So basically what we want to do is like, you don't have to do nothing. Specify, create the MX record, specify us the actual webhook where we will send this information, done. You don't need to do anything basically besides that. So
Sounds crazy.
um, yeah, that's really cool. And I'm curious to hear what people will build with this, and what they will do with it. So this is the trying to track of time. I think we're good, right?
We good. We good.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this is the reply callbacks. Really, really nice addition. The other one, which is more related to the cloud version of Novu, and this is the uh, default kind of trial email provider we are building. So basically, the goal about this provider was for people trying to evaluate Novu and kind of see, if it's for them or not, or even a very small kind of, if it's just your side project, or you're sending emails to yourself, or like a very simple use case. We actually allow you to send up to 300 emails a month with the Novu trial provider. So you don't have to configure anything for it. You don't have to create a SendGrid account. You don't have to create, configure, and like do the all domain authorization part. So basically, we created this out of the box. You can start to send emails without connecting any email provider. out of the box. Once you will connect your real provider, SendGrid, for production use cases, basically the Novo will automatically shut off, and you will be just using your production level provider.
I
And yeah.
I know that this question will come sooner or later, but are we planning to also provide the same sort of trial provider to the SMS functions?
Yeah, so it's definitely something that we are planning to add. It really depends on kind of our finding the right provider. Obviously, SMS are much more expensive than emails, and then you have a lot of kind of things to consider. We started with the email provider to see like if it's again brings any benefit to people, and then if we'll see the adoption there, and focusing more on the SMS channels a bit later. But it's definitely something we have discussed. We just need to figure out, the details and then the cost effect of this and etc.
I'm personally really excited about this because I remember that even kind of a year ago when I started to play around with Novu, and one of the kind of biggest setbacks that I had was that I actually need to go and for me personally, as someone who did not work with provider before, I needed to set a provider first and then connect this provider to Novo. And to see how it works kind of out of the box, I think it's already a really like a high jump in terms of the user experience. So yeah, I personally think that it's really awesome. And I think that many people would share that thought with me.
Yeah, I agree. And sometimes, you are specifically with new people, and like they may be evaluating Novo and not sure enough like if it's even
Yeah.
fitting their needs and etc. Just having the ability to kind of set up something and play with it to see if it like actually serves your problems that you're trying to solve, and if it does, then you can invest more time in configuring
Right.
everything. But kind of this path of helping people to understand what Novo can actually do, and kind of remove the friction about using it, it was really kind of the main goals about the Novo email credits we
Exactly.
provide.
Yeah.
And I hope we'll be able to kind of expand it in the future to other channels as well. But we already started to see a lot of the releases out for a few, I think a week and a bit, and we already see a lot of people kind of using it, and like beginning kind of their first implementation steps with Novo, sending a few emails for tests and etc. We already see it in action, so I'm really excited about this, and where it will go.
Yeah. Like, me too.
Awesome. So we have a few kind of breaking changes on the notification center package of the React component. Mostly things around renaming and kind of creating a better structured naming for the hooks we are providing. Um, all the information is available here. So if you are upgrading and you have, some people might not need to kind of change this, but if you are using those custom hooks, you can take a look at the docs before upgrading to the 0.11 version. So just kind of a thing to note on this part. And as mentioned before, like there are really a lot of things happening there. Um, really, like there's tons of stuff here. But yeah, and leads me, I think, to the next part of this hour is we are already 453 commits into the next new version
into the
since
next
this
version.
version.
Yeah,
Yeah.
into the next version. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, so let's discuss and touch slightly what the team is working on currently.
Yeah. So if you part of our cloud service, you're probably already seen this great banner here that we are polishing, and the release is dedicated to bug fixes and performance improvements and all those user experience things that you wish we could
Yeah.
solve, and kind of those things you sometimes like, we get to it, but life happens. And so we kind of dedicated the whole cycle. It will be finished quite soon, so it's like time flies fast. But we got a lot of amazing feedback. So you can also get more information. So if you go to our GitHub README page, and you will actually see this beautiful banner created by Pixel Point here.
In the dark mode, it looks better. Just saying.
Yeah, I'm. By the way, I also use like, don't judge me for this, but I actually use a white theme on my ID as well. But I use it dynamically because if it's a night like and it's dark, I'm using dark mode during the day.
You are a special snowflake, man.
Don't judge me. Don't judge me.
um,
Um,
so before you will dive into it, I would like actually to come a bit from kind of from what brought you and I know Omer to actually think about it, because we also have Santosh here asking what was the inspiration for the polishing season. So touch that slightly and then dive right back to the actual polishing season.
Yeah, so we've been getting a lot of community feedback in the last few weeks and a couple of months now about a lot of things that we couldn't maybe find. Okay, like it's a bug, it's a small improvement, and we've been working hard on shipping a lot of the big kind of building blocks of Novu specifically. Before we are reaching our 1.0 kind of mark of Novu, we have a lot of things to do, but we also didn't want to forget about sometimes the small imperfections, kind of the not clear things, this like not so good developer experience in some areas. So basically, we decided to dedicate the whole cycle. And for anybody that doesn't know, we ship usually Novo on a monthly cadence, and kind of dedicate those weeks to actually going over polishing and kind of solving a lot of the inputs we got from the community. And we also opened, and this was an experiment we've done. We didn't know like how popular it will be, but we already have a lot of work to do. And we also asked people to submit their own issues and things they would love us to fix. And we kind of wanted to see, hey, let's see how the community react to that, and if people are in and kind of participate. And we had really amazing collaboration from a lot of folks from the community who really invested kind of and went and made a detailed issues of this can be improved and this is inconsistent, the font size here is not large enough, or like it's not consistent with other pages. It's kind of a lot of those things that are, we specifically, I think we all strive for and love our craft in a sense, and we care about the things we do. But sometimes we kind of lose some things, kind of in the process. And sometimes we want to ship and kind of provide some functionality for people to try out. And in the way, we kind of make some assumptions, and we can maybe fix them later and etc. And this is a compilation of all of those things. Is kind of dealing with some of our technical depth, dealing with some of the UI imperfections, and basically, because of the success of a lot of those submitted issues, I think we really need to think maybe doing another round of those and maybe have a bit more preparation for this. Because we saw a lot of interest from the community to help with solving those issues. So it's like, it was, for me, this feeling is like we have another Oktoberfest, but with meaningful stuff. And people are really
Yeah.
really participating and want to be involved in helping with those things. So I think for the next one, we're going to do kind of a bit more heads up and maybe do some more, involve the community much more as part of the polishing season to create issues that are more digested and kind of
Yeah.
with more detail. So uh, was a great test and a successful one. So for the next time, I think we can do really amazing things. And for your question, Santosh, there are still a lot of polishing season issues that are open and are not assigned. This is a very important thing. Please make sure that before you begin to work on something, uh, verify that the actual issue is ready to be worked on, that we don't introduce changes that may affect in a negative way the system. So like, write in a comment, all right, this is how I'm proposed to solve this particular issue. Let's have a quick discussion about this. We can assign you, and then you can actually help with some of the issues. Obviously, we will not stop fixing bugs and those things until the next polishing season. We will keep kind of finding the more important things and prioritizing everything.
Yeah.
But I think it's a good thing to kind of stop for a second and focus on kind of solving a lot of those things that you always tell, like, we need to do this and we need to do that. And this was really about the polishing season. Other than that, we have our ninja. George is kind of on a parallel track, working as part of the polishing season and also improving the onboarding for the notification center users. So basically, anybody who wants to embed the notification center inside their application to make it much easier and accessible, because today it's like you have some part on the docs, and on in the web we only reference the iframe. So we consolidated everything under a kind of a more meaningful flow. So there will be a lot of work on actually helping people on board and implement those features internally. And I think the whole quarter for us and the whole like upcoming months is really about improving developer experience, improving the onboarding process of like how can you integrate the product and use Novu for the different technical use cases you might want to use it in a much more intuitive and easier way. And this is like the polishing season is because of it, and a lot of things is kind of our goal for this few months is really focusing on those areas of the product.
Yeah. Talking about improving the user experience and the onboarding, I just wanted to mention that one of our team members, Novu David, um, was working really hard on this thing that I'm personally really shocked, kind of how it turns out. It's called Notification Directory. Send I will just send the link in the comments. Basically, if you would like to try out Novu and you would like to try out different configurations and different workflows, and something that could possibly stop you is the copy or what to actually write in the notification, you don't need to worry about it anymore because basically this notification directory contains so many examples, so many use cases, so many things that you could just pick what you would like to test out, what you would like to play with, insert it into your notification workflow, and just run with it. So basically, just remove the creative sort of part of this. So this is, I'm personally really, I think that it's really awesome. Now, another thing that I know that um, few people requested for us to at least slightly touch and discuss is the pricing. So recently we already released the pricing model. Dima, could you maybe go over the pricing, kind of share the page and explain what it means and how it affects on the self-hosted version, if it even exists?
Yeah, sure. Give me we discussed about when I sharing the screen on stream restream. It's
Yeah.
like just stuck for me.
It's freeze, yeah.
Bear with me for a second. I'll be back. Yeah. Okay. I'm back. I don't know why it's happening, but whatever. Um, so we released the pricing page with a nice kind of thingy here to with beautiful colors and as always, Um, so basically we have four main tiers for our cloud version. So this is related to the cloud version. The self-hosted version, you can still use it. Like we're not charging for that. It's open source. It's freely licensed. So you could actually use that without any worries on that end. If you, however, prefer that Novo will actually run the infrastructure and the DevOps behind the notification system, so you would just actually register, get an API key, and you can just work. This is where the cloud is very handy, and this is where a lot of our existing customers and people who are using the cloud platform, starting from small startups to large organizations and also enterprise customers, that kind of, it's an overhead, and the Novo system grows in functionality, but it also implies you need to manage kind of more services, and it's like it's the overhead is growing there. We try to make it as simple as we can, but then in the end we don't want to impart the system ability to scale and handle millions of events and etc. And this is kind of our way of like taking care of those things for you. And the pricing, again, as I mentioned, is relevant for the cloud service. So there is a very detailed kind of differentiation between the free tiers. Basically, the free tier, and this is kind of our maker to maker, thinking, is that a lot of the indie developers and kind of getting started, and we've been in this place so many times, that you just starting out, you may be doing a side project, you might be building something, and you might not have a lot of budget for those things. So basically, we are providing the free tier for Novu with up to 10K events per month. So it's without any kind of payment from that side, so you could just use that. And as you scale and as your needs are scaling, you could switch to the other plans. However, with all that being said, Novu is still in the open beta phase. So basically, until we reach kind of on the official stable release of Novu, the pricing is not enabled yet. So basically, it is just for you to understand, in case you will be growing, how much kind of it will cost. But as of now, we are not collecting credit cards. We're not making the actual payments on the system until we release the. We'll obviously provide like some messaging prior to that and notify all the people about it, and we'll do like a proper rollout for this once it comes. But it was important for me to notice that although we have the pricing page available, we're not billing yet on our cloud service, as we are in the open beta phase of Novo.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying this. I know that few of our community members definitely needed to at least feel that and be reassured. Um, okay, so we actually kind of coming to the last part of this session. So if you have any other questions, anything that you would like us to address, something that you would like us to talk about, kind of in the time that we have left, feel free to write this question here. But of course, if it's something that's not really convenient or something that you would like kind of in 10 minutes will think about, you could always reach out to us through our Discord server and get the answers to all of your questions.
Yeah,
Um,
and maybe before we kind of go on for the next thing, I will put a bit on the spot. I'm not sure if Nikolai is here with us on the stream. Nikolai, if you do, please write something on the chat.
please do.
So, yeah. So Nikolai is recently joined Novo, and when I say recently, I mean last week, basically. And he is already in the weeds. So Nikolai is joined as a full-time product designer to the team, and he already brought so much value. Just for he didn't even like just getting things around, but already impacting a lot of the things we're doing. So Nikolai will be working a lot kind of with the community feedback and hearing and kind of compiling things to improve our product experience, the user experience of the web interface, the user experience in general of the product. And he hopefully will be able also to schedule some calls with community members and some of our users to kind of better understand how they're using the product and how can we help. Um, so you can see Nikolai also available on GitHub and on Discord. Feel free to kind of tag him on Discord. I hope he doesn't hear me right now, but I, I'm pretty sure he would love to hear the feedback. And he already began kind of a few, community votes or polls, so to speak, with getting some information for some of you. So uh, you'll probably be hearing a lot more from him in the next couple of weeks, months, and for the future.
Yeah, you really put him on the spot. So yeah, in this also kind of stage, we wanted to welcome Nikolai to our team, kind of just as an office hours thing. And we also have another team member that joined us recently, Prosper. You can see that he comment here on the chat. He took a position of Devrel as well in the Novu team. So you're also going to see him a lot. And yeah, so our team is really growing. It's really exciting. Um, okay, so Regarding this particular event, it's something that we will, again, as I said in the beginning, focus on conducting on a bi-weekly basis, where we either will talk about the most recent features that we released, or we will talk about the upcoming features and the challenges that we are facing. So again, this is also the place where we gladly demonstrate any functionalities, any features, anything that you would like us to address. And you could submit any request, submit any question. And once this session is over, this is also going to be a bit edited and uploaded again to our YouTube channel, maybe if, even in pieces, where you can just go there and watch something and make sure that you haven't missed anything that we anything from the updates that we already discussed and talked about. All right, so I don't have any other questions submitted. So it was a pleasure, Dima. Thank you for joining on this lovely Valentine's Day.
Yes, we need to do
And
like hard signs, on
the
the.
hard signs, exactly. And thank to the all the audience that came, and we wish you a great week, a great Valentine's Day, uh, and see you next time. And of course, come hop into our Discord, say hi, join our GitHub, make sure to maybe contribute, to participate in any way you think, and feedback. Feedback is the most valuable thing that you can give us. So if you want to say something, want to share something, any ideas, opinions, thoughts, feel free to do so. All of our team will gladly chat with you. All right. Bye bye.
All right.